There exists a curious phenomenon in life, a woman who walks without companions, bereft of the chatter and laughter that punctuate the lives of others. To some, she is a figure of pity, to others, a mystery. Yet to herself, if she dares look deeply, she might be something else entirely, a masterpiece in progress. Solitude, after all, is not loneliness. It is a space, an emptiness pregnant with possibility. The world around her may be filled with noise, but in her quiet, she finds a stillness that speaks truths no conversation could convey. Without the mirrors of friendship reflecting back her image, she is left to ask herself, who am I without them? What is my essence? These questions are not curses but gifts, albeit ones wrapped in difficulty. For in their answering, she learns that her worth was never dependent on the company she kept. In the absence of friends, she discovers something astonishing herself. Society may call her an outlier, whispering about what she lacks, but what if she is merely choosing not to trade authenticity for superficial connection? What if her solitude is a rebellion against the mundane and a dance with the eternal? There is beauty in the detachment this path brings. It frees her from the exhausting need to perform, to fit into molds that never suited her soul. Without the pressure to conform to the expectations of others, she begins to align with the rhythm of her true nature. Of course, the world may misunderstand. People often fear what they cannot categorize. A woman without friends is an enigma, and enigmas unsettle the status quo. Yet this very detachment becomes her strength, for she no longer seeks validation from the transient approval of others. She learns to draw sustenance from deeper sources. Perhaps she walks in the woods and hears the symphony of leaves whispering their secrets. Perhaps she gazes at the stars and feels a kinship with their silent brilliance. Nature becomes her confidante, reminding her that she is never truly alone. And then she comes to the greatest realization of all, that relationships, whether with friends, lovers, or even family, are impermanent. They flow in and out of our lives like tides, beautiful in their transience. To cling to them is to fight the current, but to embrace their temporariness is to swim freely in the river of existence. So what of the woman with no friends? She is not broken, as the world might assume. She is perhaps unshackled. She is discovering that life without constant external validation offers her the rarest treasure, the chance to know herself deeply. And one day, if she chooses to step back into the circle of companionship, she will do so not out of need, but from a place of abundance. She will no longer seek friends to fill a void, for she has learned to fill that space with the richness of her own being. And when she connects, her connections will be true, for they will be rooted in the clarity of someone who has made peace with the most profound friendship of all, the one she has with herself. In her solitude, she is not alone. She is merely walking the path that life has laid before her, a path not less traveled, but less understood, and in that understanding, she finds her freedom. Solitude is a state that many shy away from, equating it with loneliness, isolation, or even failure. But these interpretations are often shallow, born of a society that prizes constant activity, noise, and external validation. To truly perceive solitude is to step beyond these conditioned fears and see it for what it really is, a profound and transformative space. It is not merely the absence of others, but the presence of oneself in the fullest sense. In solitude, there is a stripping away of distractions, the kind that keep us from confronting our own inner landscapes. Without the constant hum of conversations or the pull of obligations, we are left face to face with ourselves. This can be unsettling at first. The silence seems deafening, and the stillness feels like a void. Yet this discomfort is not an enemy, it is the beginning of something much deeper, a journey inward. Most people fill their days with relationships and interactions, not out of genuine connection, but to escape the mirror that solitude holds up. In this mirror, we see not just our joys, but our fears, our desires, and the shadows we often try to hide. Solitude, therefore, is not an absence, but an invitation. It invites us to sit with these reflections, to understand them, and ultimately to make peace with them. In doing so, we begin to uncover who we are when the world is not looking. There is an irony in solitude. The more you embrace it, the less alone you feel. In its quiet, you start to perceive the intricate web of existence that binds all things. The chirp of a bird, the rustle of leaves, the hum of the wind, these are not mere background noises, but part of a symphony that speaks to the interconnectedness of life. In solitude, you begin to feel the rhythm of the world as it pulses through you. You realize that while people may come and go, this connection is constant and unbreakable. The beauty of solitude lies in its honesty. It does not demand that you perform or conform. It does not judge, nor does it seek to define you. It simply allows you to be. And in being, you discover a freedom that no relationship can provide. This freedom is not about avoiding others, but about no longer needing them to complete you. Solitude helps you recognize that you are whole, that your worth is intrinsic and independent of external affirmation. When you perceive solitude deeply, you see that it is not a punishment, but a privilege. It is a rare chance to step outside the noise and busyness of life and hear the whispers of your own soul. It is a sacred space where you can breathe, reflect, and grow. And in this space, you find that solitude is not something to fear, but something to cherish, for it is in solitude that the truest parts of you are revealed. Friendship is often celebrated as one of the most enriching aspects of life, a connection that offers support, joy, and a sense of belonging. Yet beneath its surface lies an intricate dynamic that many overlook: the mirror effect. Every relationship reflects back aspects of ourselves, some we cherish and others we might struggle to acknowledge. Understanding this mirror effect allows us to see friendship not just as a source of companionship, but as a profound tool for self-awareness. When we interact with friends, their responses to us are not impartial. They are shaped by their perceptions, emotions, and judgments. In this interplay, they become mirrors, showing us who we are, or at least how we appear in their eyes. A friend's encouragement might highlight our strengths, while their criticism may expose our insecurities. Their laughter at our jokes confirms our humor, while their silence in moments of vulnerability might reveal our own discomfort with deeper truths. Friendships, in this sense, become a stage where our inner dynamics are played out. Yet this reflection is not always clear or accurate. It is filtered through the lens of another's experiences and biases, just as our perceptions of them are shaped by our own. This is where the mirror effect becomes complex, for it can distort as much as it illuminates. A friend might magnify our fears, feeding our self-doubt, or they might amplify our pride, encouraging a distorted sense of self. In such cases, the friendship can become a source of confusion rather than clarity. But when approached with mindfulness, the mirror effect can be a powerful tool for growth. The patterns we notice in our friendships, whether positive or challenging, often point to patterns within ourselves. A tendency to attract critical friends, for instance, might reflect an inner critic we have yet to confront. Similarly, friendships that consistently feel unbalanced might reveal our struggles with boundaries or self-worth. By examining these dynamics, we gain insight into the ways we perceive and present ourselves in the world. There is also the question of projection, the act of seeing in others what we cannot face within ourselves. Friendships often bring this to light. We might admire a friend's confidence because it mirrors the confidence we wish to cultivate. Conversely, we might be irritated by a friend's behavior because it reflects a trait in ourselves that we resist acknowledging. In this way, the mirror effect challenges us, asking us to take responsibility for our emotions rather than placing them solely on the other person. For those without friendships, the absence of these mirrors creates a different kind of reflection. Without external relationships to hold up a glass to our inner world, we are forced to look inward for answers. This can be daunting as it removes the distractions and affirmations that friendships often provide. Yet it is also liberating. It allows for a clarity that is untainted by the projections or distortions of others, offering the opportunity to cultivate a self-awareness that is uniquely our own. Connection is one of the most fundamental aspects of human existence. It is the thread that binds us to others, to the world around us, and even to ourselves. Yet the nature of connection is far more intricate than the surface-level relationships we often pursue. True connection is not about proximity or frequency of interaction. It is about depth, authenticity, and resonance. It transcends the visible and touches the very essence of who we are. Many of us equate connection with social ties, friendships, family bonds, or romantic relationships. While these forms of connection can be meaningful, they often come with expectations, obligations, and roles that can cloud their authenticity. A person might be surrounded by others yet feel deeply disconnected because the bonds they share are shallow, transactional, or rooted in mutual convenience rather than genuine understanding. This is not true connection, but an imitation of it, one that leaves the soul yearning for something more. True connection arises when there is alignment between individuals, not merely in interests or circumstances, but in essence. It is a meeting of minds, hearts, and spirits that transcends words and actions. Such connection does not demand perfection or agreement. Instead, it is built on acceptance and presence. In the presence of true connection, we feel seen not for the roles we play, but for the core of who we are. This kind of connection is rare and cannot be forced or fabricated. It emerges naturally when authenticity meets authenticity. Beyond interpersonal relationships, the nature of connection extends to the world at large. It is found in the moments when we feel at one with nature, when the rustle of leaves or the crash of waves evokes a sense of belonging that no human interaction can replicate. It is in the stillness of a sunrise, the vastness of a starry sky, or the simple act of breathing deeply and feeling the rhythm of life within us. These moments remind us that connection is not confined to people. It is an ever-present possibility that surrounds us, waiting to be noticed. The paradox of connection is that it often requires solitude to be fully understood. In the absence of distractions, we can begin to sense the subtle threads that link us to everything else. This awareness fosters a connection to the self, an essential yet often overlooked foundation for all other connections. When we are disconnected from ourselves, our feelings, values, and truths, we struggle to connect authentically with others. Self-connection is the wellspring from which all meaningful relationships flow. It is also important to recognize that connection does not depend on permanence. Some of the most profound connections we experience may be fleeting, a brief conversation with a stranger, a shared moment of understanding, or a glance that speaks volumes. These encounters remind us that connection is not about holding on, but about being present. It is less about duration and more about the quality of the exchange. In a world that often prioritizes networking, accumulation of friends, or constant interaction, the true nature of connection can become obscured. Real connection is not a number or a status, it is a feeling, a resonance that cannot be measured but only experienced. It asks us to strip away pretense, to risk vulnerability, and to embrace the unpredictability of relationships. True connection cannot be manufactured or controlled, it can only be welcomed. Ultimately, the nature of connection reveals that we are never truly separate. Even in moments of solitude or estrangement, there is a quiet thread that links us to the larger tapestry of existence. To understand this is to realize that connection is not something we must earn or create. It is something we must recognize and nurture, both within ourselves and in the world around us. It is a gift that life offers us, not in grand gestures, but in the simplest, profound ways. This internal foundation of self-reliance comes from a deep understanding that our well-being is ultimately self-created. While we may look to others for guidance, advice, or companionship, the ability to choose how we respond to life's challenges, to decide the direction we will take, lies within our own hands. It is empowering to realize that we are not at the mercy of external forces. Our thoughts, decisions, and actions are the true determinants of our experience. This awareness is not a rejection of others or the world around us, but an acknowledgement that we have the capacity to meet life on our own terms. To embrace self-reliance means to take full responsibility for our lives. It requires the courage to face the truth about ourselves, to confront our weaknesses and limitations, and to actively work toward growth. Self-reliance asks us to be honest about our desires and fears, to shed the illusions we hold about what others think of us, and to make choices based on our authentic selves rather than societal expectations. It is an act of personal integrity, a commitment to living in alignment with our own values, no matter how different they may be from those of the collective. Furthermore, self-reliance fosters a profound sense of freedom. The more we rely on our inner resources, the less we feel shackled by the opinions or actions of others. We stop seeking validation and external approval and begin to trust ourselves more deeply. This freedom allows us to pursue our passions and desires without fear of judgment or failure. We become less concerned with conforming to social norms and more focused on living in a way that reflects our true selves. This, in turn, leads to a deeper sense of fulfillment, as we are no longer living for others' expectations, but for our own sense of purpose. In embracing self-reliance, we also cultivate a sense of peace. There is a quiet confidence in knowing that we do not need to look outside ourselves for answers. We understand that life is not something that happens to us, but something that we engage with, shape, and create. This shift in perspective transforms our experience of the world from one of helplessness to one of empowerment. We begin to see challenges as part of the natural ebb and flow of existence, and we trust that we have what it takes to navigate them. Ultimately, self-reliance is not about rejecting others or their help. It is about knowing that we can stand firm in our own power without relying on anyone else to define or limit us. It is an ongoing process of growth, self-awareness, and self-trust. In learning to depend on ourselves, we not only gain strength and resilience, but we also find the courage to live authentically, to choose our own paths, and to create lives that are uniquely our own. This is the true empowerment that comes from self-reliance, a deep, abiding confidence in the knowledge that we are always enough. Yet this cultural understanding of solitude is built on a fragile foundation. Solitude in its truest form is not about being alone or disconnected. Rather, it is an opportunity for self-reflection, self-discovery, and personal growth. When viewed through the lens of these cultural narratives, solitude can seem uncomfortable, even intimidating. But in reality, it is one of the most profound and necessary states for an individual's development. Solitude offers a space in which we can hear our own thoughts, separate from the influence of others. It allows us to reconnect with our inner selves and discover what truly matters to us, apart from societal expectations or pressures. In a society that increasingly values constant stimulation, social media connections, and external validation, the cultural narrative surrounding solitude must be questioned. To embrace solitude is to resist the pressure to constantly conform to others' expectations and instead to turn inward and listen to our own truths. It is in solitude that we discover our authentic voice, untethered from the noise of society's demands. Through solitude, we come to understand that our worth is not defined by our relationships, our achievements, or our productivity, but by our own sense of being. As we continue on the path of spiritual transformation and isolation, we begin to realize that we are never truly alone. The divine presence, the source of all creation, is always with us, even when we are physically separated from others. This realization brings a deep sense of peace as we come to understand that our true essence is not bound by time, space, or external circumstances. The isolation that initially felt like a void becomes a sacred space, a container for spiritual growth and awakening. We realize that, in truth, it is through isolation that we often come into the fullest expression of ourselves as we shed the illusions of separation and return to the knowing that we are always connected to the divine and to all of existence. Spiritual transformation in isolation is not about escaping the world, but about reconnecting with our truest self. It is an invitation to break free from the distractions and illusions that keep us disconnected from our essence. Through this process, we come to understand that true fulfillment, peace, and enlightenment come not from external sources, but from the deep wellspring of wisdom and love that resides within. In isolation, we find the space to remember who we truly are, to awaken to our divine nature, and to experience the profound interconnectedness of all life. The connection to nature is ancient. It is a part of who we are. As human beings, we have evolved alongside the natural world, and there is a deep, almost primal bond between us and the earth. Our senses are finely attuned to the nuances of the environment, from the way the wind moves through the trees to the subtle changes in the sky as the sun rises or sets. These natural phenomena do not only serve as a backdrop to our lives, but as active participants in the unfolding of our experience. They are ever present, constantly offering us wisdom, comfort, and renewal. Yet in our modern world, it is easy to overlook these gifts, distracted by the artificial world we have created for ourselves. In moments of solitude, nature becomes a mirror that reflects our deepest truths. The stillness of the forest or the vastness of the ocean can reveal the stillness and vastness within ourselves. The natural world operates in cycles, and in observing these cycles, we are reminded of our own rhythms and cycles, our moments of growth, our periods of rest, our moments of expansion and contraction. When we find ourselves in nature, we are reminded that we too are part of a larger process, that our lives are not isolated events, but part of the greater unfolding of existence. This awareness brings a sense of peace as we begin to see that everything is interconnected, that we are both a part of and supported by a vast, intricate web of life. When we understand nature as a companion, we come to see that it is always there for us, offering us wisdom, peace, and renewal whenever we are ready to receive it. We do not have to search for answers in distant places or in external sources. They are all around us, embedded in the landscape, in the skies, in the cycles of the earth. The beauty of nature is not just in its aesthetic appeal, but in its ability to teach us, to guide us, and to reflect the deeper truths of our own existence. Nature is not something we should seek to control or conquer, but something to be honored, revered, and cherished. It is both a companion and a teacher, showing us the way back to ourselves, to our deepest truths, and to the interconnectedness of all life. In the quiet embrace of nature, we find that we are never truly alone. We are always in the presence of a companion that offers us its wisdom, its healing, and its unwavering support. Nature is a reminder that we are part of something much larger than ourselves, that we are both a reflection of the earth and the earth itself, and that our lives are intimately bound to the cycles of the natural world. To recognize nature as a companion is to come into a deeper relationship with ourselves and the universal relationship based on reverence, mutual respect, and a recognition of the sacredness that flows through all things. The temporariness of relationships also teaches us about the illusion of control. We often like to believe that we can shape, mold, or preserve relationships to suit our needs and desires. We may try to hold on to a friend, a lover, or a family member beyond the point at which they are meant to be in our lives. Yet the more we try to control relationships, the more we disrupt their natural course. Relationships are not possessions or achievements. They are living, breathing connections that, like all life, are subject to the ebb and flow of time. Some relationships are meant to last a lifetime, but others are destined to be brief encounters, each serving a different purpose in the grand tapestry of our lives. When we come to accept the impermanence of all relationships, we can move away from the urge to control or possess others, and instead learn to appreciate them for the moments they are in our lives. This understanding of impermanence also brings with it the realization that endings are not always bad. Every relationship, no matter how short-lived or painful, has something to teach us. The end of a relationship can be a doorway to new growth, new beginnings, and new understandings. It is through the temporary nature of relationships that we learn how to let go, how to forgive, how to move forward, and how to cherish what was while releasing the need to cling to it. Life is about cycles, and each cycle has its own lessons. The impermanence of relationships helps us to let go of attachments and to trust that when something ends, it is only making space for something new to enter. In the end, the temporariness of relationships is not a source of sorrow, but a profound invitation to live more authentically. It urges us to let go of our need for permanence, to cultivate deep presence with others, and to find peace within ourselves. When we accept the transient nature of relationships, we embrace the truth that life is fluid, ever-changing, and full of possibilities. Every encounter, every connection, every moment is a gift. The impermanence of relationships teaches us not to fear loss, but to celebrate the beauty and depth of each experience as it comes into our lives, knowing that every moment, like every relationship, is a passing wave in the vast ocean of existence. In the depths of solitude, there exists an unseen gift that many overlook: the gift of no friends. The notion of having no friends is often viewed through a lens of pity or judgment, a condition to be avoided or cured, but it is a misunderstood gift, one that can lead to profound transformation if approached with openness and understanding. It is easy to equate friendship with fulfillment, to believe that companionship is the key to happiness and emotional well-being. Yet, in the absence of this external connection, there is a unique opportunity to connect deeply with oneself, to embrace independence, and to discover a strength that is often hidden beneath the noise of social interactions. Living without friends for a time can feel like an unsettling experience. The external world offers us constant messages about the value of relationships, the importance of belonging, and the need to be surrounded by people. Society conditions us to believe that friendship is a measure of worth, that the number of people in our lives reflects our success, our value, and our happiness. But this mindset fails to recognize the deeper aspects of our existence, the parts of us that are not reliant on the external world for validation or fulfillment. In truth, there is something inherently powerful in being alone, in being without the constant presence of others. When we are not constantly tethered to other people, we are given the opportunity to explore our own thoughts, desires, and beliefs without the influence or distraction of outside opinions. It is in this space of solitude that we can come to understand who we truly are, beyond the roles and expectations that friendships and social connections often impose upon us. Moreover, the absence of friends creates space for profound personal growth. Without the distractions of social engagements or the expectations of maintaining certain relationships, we are given the rare opportunity to turn inward, to explore the depths of our own being. In solitude, we confront our own fears, our doubts, and our insecurities, but we also discover our strengths, our passions, and our desires. The journey of self-discovery, when undertaken in solitude, is unencumbered by the need to seek approval or validation from others. It is a journey that is led by the heart, guided by an internal compass that knows no external constraints. In this way, the absence of friends can serve as a catalyst for personal transformation, allowing us to shed old patterns of behavior, break free from limiting beliefs, and embrace a new sense of clarity and purpose. There is also a unique clarity that arises in solitude. When we are alone, we are no longer influenced by the thoughts and emotions of those around us. We are given the space to hear our own voice clearly, to separate our own needs and desires from the expectations of others. This clarity enables us to make decisions that are true to our own path, rather than being swayed by the opinions or advice of those around us. We begin to trust ourselves more deeply, knowing that we are the best judges of what is right for us. This inner clarity is a gift that can only be cultivated in solitude, and it empowers us to live with greater intention and purpose. In many ways, the unseen gift of having no friends is the opportunity to develop a deep and lasting relationship with oneself. It is the chance to rediscover who we are at the core, beyond the roles and identities we have created in relation to others. It is a chance to build a life that is deeply fulfilling, not because of the people in it, but because we have learned to be content, peaceful, and whole within ourselves. This gift, though often invisible and unrecognized by those who may judge it, is the most profound and lasting gift we can receive: an invitation to embrace the fullness of our own being and to live a life that is truly our own. Through solitude, we discover that we are never truly alone. We are always with ourselves. And this relationship, the one that we cultivate within, is the deepest and most meaningful of all.